Hi, hello, my audible.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, great. So if at any point in the speech I stop talking, it's probably because I'm having a heat stroke. It is really hot right now. Okay, let me set up my timer and get my paper real quick. So, with that being said, POI preference through chat. I will do my best to take a POI. And if at any point you don't hear me, just cut me off and I'll stop and we can start from there. Okay? With that being said, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. In a world where advertising increases the prevalence of sport betting, we tell you that only on side opposition do we promote the growth of the sport through advertising while also promoting responsible consumption to sport betting, which Affirmative acknowledges exists on both sides of the House. A few key rebuttals then. Firstly, the Prime Minister mentions how banning ads will regulate the sport betting industry, but we question the lens in which this will happen. Why? Two things. Firstly, the soft stance proves how both sides of the House want to regulate the market. And to put it simply, why enforce a ban when it allows the black market to thrive? Because the state doesn't take an active role to regulate it. But secondly, we tell you that their end goal of regulating the betting industry is done more effectively and done better on our side of the House when we actively take a role to regulate these ads instead of banning it. But second, let's talk about my second rebuttal. How the Deputy Prime Minister discusses how advertising manipulates individuals. Two things. Firstly, she speaks as if it only happens in the world of sports betting. But no, the nature of advertising really is to influence a person to consume a certain good or service. Which leads me to my second point of the nature of advertising, which is to influence and to a large extent manipulate consumers. I mean, you need to admit that I don't necessarily understand why this is an exclusive harm to sport betting. When basically we are all consumeristic by nature. But that doesn't mean we immediately lose rationale and automatically forget about our critical thinking skills. Only in opposition do we promote safe and responsible consumption when we regulate the advertising. But third, a lot of what government says are assertions on it being unfair and addictive, but don't really give any exclusive impacts. We told you how the only way ads evolve and are innovated are through allowing them to exist and for discourse to happen, which can only be done on our side of the House when we actively regulate it. But another thing, on government whip, she gave new material and new argument on poor financial literacy and creating a narrative of get rich easy. But we told you how these are already preempted in the speech of my leader of opposition. When you have to be 18 and sign a terms and conditions contract, but even if that's not the case, there are legitimate risks given upside. Just like in the stock market or crypto, we don't see how this is exclusively happening on the sport betting scene. But lastly, fans participate in sports through sports betting, regardless if they're addicted or not. It's a legitimate form of expression and a form of support which increases competition and makes the game more fun and real. But let's talk about two things. Firstly, why do people bet on sports in the first place? We need to understand that it is fun, it's entertaining, but it's also profitable for these companies that have the sports betting. And it creates hype. And while Affirmative was basically up here telling us that betting is bad in excess, we tell you that anything is bad in excess. Responsible consumption exists on our side of the House because we actively promote it. Because we actively promote responsible consumption when we regulate these ads. Whereas Affirmative's ban on ads will lead to a stronger and unregulated black market for betting. Responsible consumption is only really possible when we take an active role to regulate the marketing and overall perception of the masses, which means on the metric of effectivity of proposal, regulation takes it over banning. Opposition wins the debate. But secondly, let's talk about why does sport betting actually need to be advertised? Two things, growth and virality. But let's further expand on that. Let's talk about the companies that actively take a role to make this happen. We tell you that coming from the deputy, it's not only profitable, but it also provides an incentive structure to ensure the popularity of the sport is maintained and even grows so that they keep making the profit, which is something that was mentioned from my first speaker and even to my deputy. But secondly, let's talk about the people playing in the sport. The fact that sport betting exists and the advertising is prevalent means that they are ensured that the popularity is maintained and they get to continue playing while making good money. But finally, let's talk about a crucial stakeholder in this debate, the fan base. To those who bet, they're able to continue to support the sport by means of betting, because now, on our side of the house, we have a better guarantee and a better assurance that it is a safe and secure space to bet because we actively regulate the market through its advertising. But lastly, let's talk about those who don't bet. At the very least, on our side of the house, what exists is an opt-in and opt-out mechanism wherein people who want to bet can bet, people who don't won't. But at the very least, we ensure their safety and responsible consumption. Now, only on our side of the house are we able to promote the growth of the sport. Affirmative cannot take this clash. Therefore, for all those reasons and more, oppose.